CMC Common Control Deficiencies, a presentation done by Jade Hines for Engineering Management 724 Risk Analysis class. First things first, what is the Cybersecurity Maturity Model, also known as CMMC? The Cybersecurity Maturity Model certification is the certification used by the Department of Defense to secure its defense industrial base. This has 3 levels, and which are based on securing 3 different levels of information. The first level involves the Federal Acquisition Regulation Clause 52.204-21, which guards federal contract information. This information about the federal contract information should not be known by the public, such as personal identifiable information of people involved in terms of the contractual agreement between the DIB and the DoD. The second level involves the Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation Clause 252.204-7012, which defines controlled unclassified information as well as orders to protect such information when in the hands of federal contractors. This information could be blueprints for federal parts or details about certain federal buildings that are not necessarily classified but should not be known by the public. This then uses NIST SP 800-171 for 110 controls to protect the confidentiality of controlled unclassified informations. The third level is classified information where the Department of Defense must review the organization themselves. CMMC is becoming more and more important due to the enforceability of Defense Acquisition Regulation Clause 252.204-7021, which requires contractors to have a current cybersecurity maturity model certification and to be able to maintain that certification throughout the duration of that contract. This leaves companies that want to work with the federal government needing to gain a cybersecurity maturity model certification quickly, which then makes it important for businesses to know what pitfalls other businesses face when it comes to getting that certification. To become CMMC certified, companies can do Level 1 self-assessment, which is a pass or fail that checks for 15 controls, and all 15 controls must be met in order to pass. The second level assessment looks at 110 different security controls sorted into 14 different categories and need to get 88 out of the 110 controls in order to get the certification after corrective action. The levels build on top of each other, as the 15 controls from Level 1 map to 17 controls out of the 110 controls of Level 2. Level 2 then requires a Level 1 annual self-assessment and a Level 2 assessment every 3 years done by a third-party assessor. These controls are to be assessed based on tests, interviews, or examinations on the policies and procedures of the organization seeking certification. They are meant to meet all of the objectives in that control in order to get scored for it. This study looks specifically at Level 2 certification, as that will be the type of certification that has been studied. The different categories are listed in the form of an acronym. AC stands for Access Control and is based on least privilege, securing system boundaries, and determining who has access to the system and how they are able to interact with it. AT stands for Awareness Training and focuses on the user training on understanding their roles in the organization as well as possible threats that they can report. AA stands for Audit and Accountability, which is about maintaining logs and reviewing them to hold individuals accountable for their actions on a system. CM stands for Configuration Management or Continuous Management, which is the importance of keeping an updated baseline, allowance, and software, as well as continuously monitoring the endpoints, as well as any attempts to change the system. IA stands for Identification and Authentication, which ensures that there is a multi-factor authentication and that there's only one person connected to each account. IR stands for Instant Response, which is about having good management policies in place that includes reporting to the Defense Industrial Base when there is an incident. MA stands for Maintenance, which is making sure that devices are monitored so that controlled unclassified information is not present on them during routine maintenance. MP stands for Media Protection, which is looking at removable and portable media and making sure that the systems are using FIPS validated cryptography and proper disposal of the data afterwards. PS stands for Personnel Security, which is making sure that all personnel are uniquely identifiable. PE stands for Physical Protection, which is making sure that there is physical security implemented to protect the hardware and software containing controlled unclassified information. RA stands for Risk Assessment and is making sure that the known vulnerabilities and vulnerability scanners are up to date. CA stands for Security Assessment and is based on building a security system plan that is updated after each plan of action and management is implemented. SC stands for Systems and Communications, which protects and controls unclassified information from theft or loss. This is done by using firewalls and cryptography. SI stands for Systems and Information Integrity, and this tests against malware and tests for vulnerabilities against the system. How the controls are mapped onto each one, as well as how the levels build off of each other. The way to read this would be looking at the acronym for the type of control, the level, and the number 3 before the number of the category it belongs to, and then the number of control in its category. This shows the amount of controls under each category and the levels in which they are from. The Level 3 requirements that are under NIST SP 871 means that they are a part of the 110 controls, but are highlighted by the Department of Defense as important to Level 3. Be going over the common control deficiencies that IEEE has discussed in their most common control deficiencies in the CMC non-compliant DoD contractors study. The most common concerning control was no system security plan, which was a 92% failure reason that popped up, and it directly links to Control 3.12.4. No security incident and event management capability was the cause of failure for 91 cases. This means that there was no centralized data log. Not using FIPS compliant VPNs was the reason for 89% of cases to fail, due to using weak encryption protocols. No separation of duties was a reason of failure for 87% of cases, due to insider threats being more prevalent because there was no clear boundaries between roles and responsibilities. No active asset management and inventory system was the reason 85% of cases failed, as there was no way to see if people were mishandling data or what assets were available. Not removing bloatware or unessential applications of software or programs was the reason 84% of organizations failed. It is necessary to get rid of unnecessary programs in order to lower the attack surface, which then lowers the risk. No reply-resistant second form of authentication to access the workstation is the reason that 82% of organizations assessed have failed. This means that they do not have two-factor authentication to stop possible man-in-the-middle attacks. 69% of cases have failed due to businesses allowing multiple privileged access to workstations. This means that users could knowingly or unknowingly manipulate the computer and cause irreversible loss of information. Not having control over storage media devices was the reason that 70% of organizations failed, as they did not properly store portable media or use proper inventory control. 63% of cases failed due to no drive encryption. This means that no memory encryption was on portable media, which is if theft happened, they would be able to read it all clearly in plain text. No centralized identification and authentication server caused 53% of organizations to fail due to there being no central control or way to prevent unauthorized users. Lack of centrally managed malware protection and intrusion detection caused 44% of organizations to fail. Although most of this was done through third-party organizations, there was no centralized organization. Lastly, not using FedRAMP-approved hosting services has caused 18% of organizations to fail. Using FedRAMP-approved hosting services means that the cloud service provider is already approved by the DoD and is following proper standards. Most of these problems seem to be able to be solved by having a good system security plan that lays out the procedures that are meant to be happening. This is also supposed to strongly define the roles and create centralized understanding and gathering of resources. This also has the call to have people better understand the cybersecurity maturity model certification so they can be fully prepared to go through the certification process. These references has helped make this presentation possible. Thank you for watching.